What's up guys, Asian here again with another PTS patch notes video. This is 5.3.3 and interestingly enough they mention here that it's the final PTS patch before the Harrowstorm DLC launches on February 24th. To give an idea, today is the 10th, so I don't know if this is truly the last patch and there's not going to be a 5.3.4, which doesn't make much sense, or if this is just sort of a typo and there is going to be a 5.3.4 and then it releases on 24th. So you can see here there's 2 weeks, so I want to say it's a typo. I'm going to kind of at Gina on the official forums and kind of see whether it was a typo or legitimately there is not going to be a patch next week. If there is going to be no patch next week, then yeah, this is going to be the final balance pass-through for this patch. I highly doubt there's going to be no 5.3.4, but who knows? There might not be. But let's go ahead and get started with these patch notes. So if this is the final PTS notes, then this is going to be the final rebalance for any skills. So let's see what they have done. So not much here. Clockwork City, elsewhere, for Necromancer, Boneyard, fix an issue where the synergy granted from this ability and its morph would fail to deal damage if you activated it from the edge of its radius, so just fix an issue there, not much there. Harrowstorm, they probably did a couple of bug fixes and a couple of rebalances for the dungeons. Again, I haven't done any of the dungeons at all on the PTS, so when it drops on live on the 24th, it'll be the first time for me to go through all the dungeons. So for those of you guys who have done dungeons on the PTS will probably know what these notes are kind of referring to, but I certainly do not at this point. Horns of the Reach, not much here. Somerset, again, not much. Combat and gameplay. This is the meat of what we're going to be discussing. So for Dragon Knights, Flame Lash, a special attack from this ability, Power Lash can now also be cast on enemies that are immobilized and reverted the cooldown back to 3 seconds. So they did change off balance, I believe in 5.3.0. They made a couple of changes here to off balance. For PvE, doesn't really matter too much. They're pretty much exactly how we would expect them to operate in PvE. 7 seconds on, 13 seconds cooldown, 7 seconds on, 30 seconds cooldown, etc., etc. But for PvP, off balance is a little bit trickier. So they decided to basically say players are treated as bosses essentially. So I believe it is 7 seconds on, 13 seconds off, 7 seconds on, 13 seconds off. So with that, they also made a couple of changes where heavy attacks and other sort of abilities that proc off of the off-balance status effect do not consume the status effect, which again is more relevant for PvP than it is for PvE. So with all these changes, they did want to make sure that this ability stayed up to speed with its current power. They took the conservative approach of reducing the cooldown, which gives you an extra lash per off-balance period during one-on-one, basically 1v1, which would be better when used in outnumbered situations. They said they still left the morph feeling lackluster, so they decided to enable Power Lash to return to a state with something that fit into your stand your ground and lock them down playstyle. For DKs. So basically, now when you use Fossilize, you can use Power Lash. So I don't think you were able to do that previously. I could be mistaken, but it's a little bit of a boost overall for Flame Lash for PvP for magDKs. Earth and Heart Helping Hands. This passive no longer triggers off stamina costing Earth and Heart abilities. There's only two, Stone Fist and Stone Giant. But to kind of offset this, they did reduce the cost of Stone Fist and Stone Giant down by a pretty hefty amount, about 33%. So now it costs $22.95 compared to $34.43. And then Stone Giant now applies stagger to enemies hit by the initial cast. So if you guys remember, they did change Stone Giant, so now it is a cast time with an AoE. That originally did not apply stagger, now it does apply stagger, and then you have the 3 rocks that you can then use as normal with Stone Giant there. For two-handed uppercut, dizzying swings, enemies hit by this ability that are immune to off balance are now snared by 40% for 2 seconds. So again, this is in response to the off-balance changes that they made for PvP. Dev comments here, so changed off-balance greatly affected the power of this morph in 1v1. They're okay with the loss of a frequent stun on a spam bull. They still want to ensure this morph didn't feel like it wasn't adding anything to your gameplay throughout the entirety of the fight. They opted to add in a function that helps you become more sticky to your target when trying to use it multiple times. Traditionally, we try and avoid CCs without intense requirements on high damage abilities, but similar to puncturing strikes, cast time abilities are far harder to land at a frequent cadence, so we are more comfortable adding the snare here in addition to enabling a contextual stun with off balance. So basically, Dizzying Swing will now stun enemies who are off balance, and if they are immune to off balance because they're in that 13-second immunity window, they are now snared instead. So again, just changes that are going to affect PvP more than PvE due to the changes in off balance. They fixed an issue with Soul Trap. Now with itemization and a couple of other item sets here. So Armor of Truth, the set now grants its bonus after dealing damage to an enemy who is off balance rather than after setting an enemy off balance. So this probably will affect uptimes a little bit more. I think Armor of Truth is more of a PvP set, less of a PvE set. So those of you guys who PvP will kind of understand the implications of this more than I do. Critical Riposte, increase the duration of the set to 9 seconds up from 4, increase the cooldown of the set to 10 seconds up from 7. Let me just really quickly double check what Critical Riposte is. Let's see here, Critical Riposte, if it'll pop up. It's crit resist, max health crit resist, the 5-piece. When you take crit damage, you apply minor uncertainty and minor enervation to the enemy. Now it'll be for 9 seconds. This reduces physical and spell crit and reduces crit damage by 10%. And then it's every 10 seconds is the cooldown now. So overall, a buff to this set. Originally it was 4 out of 7, and I believe, let's see what the comment says. Original values were residuals from internal testing, much weaker than intended, since it provides minor debuffs that are okay. So they're basically say they're minor debuffs. They're not, you can counteract them pretty easily. So we're just increasing the cooldowns and duration. They fixed an issue with Draugrkin's Rest. Draugrkin's Grip, interesting enough, I just released a video testing this. They removed the proc chance from this set. They increased the damage bonus to 617 up from 530, and they increased the cooldown to 9 seconds up from 6. So this gives us a theoretical uptime of 66%. If you guys remember from the Draugrkin's Grip video I did earlier, with a magDK, I was getting about 55% uptime. So if they remove the proc chance so it always procs, then in that case we should be able to get close to that 66% theoretical max uptime. That does mean our damage bonus should be higher, so 55% 530 is obviously lower than 66% of 617. So I will go back and double check this, and I will also try this out with something like a Force Pulse build now. Although I don't think it's necessary now that they've removed the proc chance from Draugrkin's Grip. So I will retest this set again. Be on the lookout for that in the coming week. Essence Thief, this set now displays a beam of light visible to the wearer, where the sigil spawns in and finalizes its location in order to help increase its visibility. Ice Heart, they reduced the shield side down even further to 5,000, but they reduced the cooldown back to 6 seconds here. So fair change here. So the shield size is going to be weaker compared to how it is on live. The damage is going to be weaker compared to it is on live, but the cooldown still remains the same. So it'll still be decent for those of you guys who kind of want that balance between survivability and damage, but it's not going to be quite as useful as it once was. Jolting Arms, so again, let me just check what this set is. These sets I don't really use too much. Jolting Arms here. They slightly redesigned this set to operate more efficiently on the server, resulting in a fix for the bash damage failing to apply properly in most cases. They reduced the armor granted to 4620. The additional damage now adds a flat 6086 to your bash attacks, rather than a separate proc of 5805 shock damage. Updated tooltip to properly mention the cooldown of this damage bonus. Jolting Arms, when you block an attack, you have 50% chance to charge your arms, causing your next bash ability to deal an additional 5805 shock damage and increase your physical and spell resistance by 6450 for 6 seconds. These changes just change all that, so it's a nerf to the armor and just a flat bonus to your bash attacks rather than an additional shock damage. So I think this is going to be, in general, going to be an overall nerf to the set if you guys are using this set. This seems like a pretty niche or very seldom used set. Gloria fixed an issue where the set could proc multiple times at once if hitting a large number of enemies. And Zaan, the ramping damage bonus to the set has a maximum of 5 stacks to match its duration to prevent it from becoming wildly powerful when used in conjunction with duration extension bonuses like Elf Bane. So this is how they are going to nerf Elf Bane. They are basically saying Zaan it has a cap now to the amount of damage it can do. I still think it makes Elf Bane pretty strong because you're still getting 5 additional ticks of that max stack. It's just not going to be quite as strong as it used to be. So I will retest this out. I did test this out on the first week of the PTS with the buff to Elf Bane on the magDK. So I will test this out on a magDK. I don't think it's going to be used in any other class, Elf Bane. Maybe Magplar Macro, because they do have some fire. Actually, no, Macros don't have anything. Maybe Templars, because Vampire's Bane is considered fire damage. But even then, I don't think it's going to be used there for Magplars. So primarily going to be a magDK set. So I will go ahead and retest Zaan now that they have found a way to nerf Elf Bane without nerfing Elf Bane. Base game stuff, this is all probably just fixes and things like that. Yeah, nothing much here. Alright, so overall, nerf to Elf Bane, not directly to Elf Bane, but a nerf to Zaan, which results in a nerf to the Elf Bane set, so I will retest this. Overall, it shouldn't be that big of a DPS loss, but again, testing, we'll see. And then Ice Heart was kind of nerfed and then buffed again, so it's pretty much at a good spot right now. Not going to be quite as strong as it used to be on live, but still pretty useful for those guys who want that survivability, but don't want to give up that much damage. Draugrkin's grip does require me to go back and retest now that they removed the proc chance. And then a couple of changes here for PvP. Stone Fists, they just reduced the cost. They didn't actually increase the damage at all, so not really any reason to retest the MDK. So the big test you will be seeing coming up this week is going to be Draugrkin's grip, retesting this, and then Zaan, the Elf Bane set with magDKs. So those are going to be the two tests that I'm going to be doing over this next week. Again, I'm getting pretty busy. This semester is actually pretty busy for me, so hopefully I'll be able to get these out by the end of the week. I will definitely try to get the Draugrkin's grip out by Wednesday. Zaan might have to wait until the weekend in order for me to test it out, because I, again, pretty busy this week with the research and coursework. But that concludes this video. As always, link in the description below to the full PTS patch notes, so you can take a look at that at your own leisure. Hopefully you guys found this informative, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.